So yes, it's great to see you all. It's lovely to see where you're all from. Um, thank you. A lovely message. Yes, we need sanity. There's definitely a lot of craziness going on. So um, that's really what we're trying to help each other to, to work together as community to start making a difference. And it's really difficult for people when they see just how much is going on around them, and just so many people are in a state of um, where so many people are talking about different things, and it can be very divisive at the moment, and it's pretty upsetting. So um, let's see. Okay, so let's see where we are. So can everyone see this? Are we people able to see this? Um, can people kind of give me an idea if they can see?
Yes.
Yes.
Excellent, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah.
So yes, um, restoring sanity in a crazy world. Yes, it is rather a crazy world, as we know. And so what I'll make a start, and really to say thank you very much, and to welcome you all for joining on this workshop to try and see what we can do together to start restoring some sanity, because the craziness is just getting louder. So if I could ask you to all turn your mobile and other devices to silent if you haven't already done so, and I appreciate that. And really, if you can kind of reduce whatever the distractions are, and so we can just kind of get the best experience from this workshop. So kind of just really to try and reduce whatever else is going on. And I appreciate we've all got different things going on in our lives. So for people who like to take notes, and if you have a journal or you just want to make some notes, to maybe jot down any questions that you've got, and we can discuss them at the end. So rather than have questions as we go along, to keep them for the end, which I think if everyone's happy to do that, it'll be better. So yeah, so I can see more people are joining, but we've got a fair bit to get through. So I think we'll make a start if everyone's okay. So for people who don't know who I am, I'm Dawn Lester, independent researcher and author. For people who may be aware of the book I co-wrote, it was published in 2019. What Really Makes You Ill: Why Everything You Thought You Knew About Disease Is Wrong. I also co-authored two other books. Both of them were under a pen name, NOR. One of them is called The Nature of Reality, which is an exploration of who we are, what we are, the nature of consciousness. And it also helps us understand our experiences in this reality, in our everyday experiences. So I'm bringing a couple of different aspects to this work, to this presentation. Although nothing in this presentation will be about health as such. So since the craziness started in 2020, I've been on a number of podcasts and radio shows to discuss the research. I was also honoured to be part of the end of COVID as both host and speaker. That went out last year, and it was just such a fantastic event to be part of, and to try and help people understand just what was going on. So in terms of my personal journey, I was given a diagnosis of cancer back in the 1990s. I had the main treatment, and I'm still here, which is surprising because many people know that the treatments are somewhat different. So I've been looking at my own life and my experiences, and really what I can do to share with people, to actually take a role in helping everyone move forward, for all of us to move forward together and get ourselves out of this craziness, move forward, take some kind of action to restore our sanity, to get some clarity back and get our lives back on track. So as I said, bringing in the exploration of consciousness, it's really help us to understand how we can actually influence our life experiences. So if we have a look at the intention of this workshop, it's really to help reduce confusion, fear, and overwhelm. If I asked you all, do those words mean something to all of you? Are these the kind of feelings you've all been feeling, the confusion and fear and overwhelm from everything that's going on? And in order to reduce that, and then restore some sanity and some clarity in our lives, to be able to make some empowered life decisions from a perspective of sanity and clarity. So this is really where I have been focusing a lot of my work recently, to be able to communicate with people and connect with people and just say, let's try and get something better going rather than all this conflict and confusion. So who is this workshop for, and who is it not for? Well, maybe that speaks for itself. So if, for people who aren't ready to take some steps forward and to take some responsibility for their lives and to start making some changes and to look at what's been going on and saying, no, this isn't right. We really need to do something a bit different. So that's who this workshop is not for. So who is this workshop for? Really, for anyone and everyone who's ready to get out of this overwhelm, this constant barrage of information that just makes us feel so just so confused. And again, with all the agendas that are out there, all the fear mongering, it's just really so much stuff that we have to deal with, and so much that we need to work our way through, and it just is not helping us see our way forward. And that's why returning to some kind of sanity. So if those ideas resonate with you, then this workshop is for you. So thank you for joining. Thank you for participating. Thank you for the courage to actually recognize there's something wrong, and to be confident in taking some steps forward and wanting to make some changes and to really know where we're going and how we can go forward. So it's a question of looking at what our challenges are. I mean, what are these challenges we're facing? Maybe not quite as dramatic as the guy on, climbing the mountain. We are living in unprecedented times. I know the various media are telling us, oh, we're in unprecedented times. Well, we are not quite necessarily in the way that they're telling us, though. So we are experiencing various challenges. The world is getting crazier. And over the last 4 years, I think a lot of us have recognized that we're really being bombarded with a lot in a way that just seems to not make sense. So many more people are saying this just doesn't make sense. What's going on? It really is getting crazy. So the craziness seems to be the fear mongering, all these different scary stories. So we're pushed into the idea of these different wars, there's disease, everything's scarcity. And so we're made to divide, and we have to look at all these stories and try and make sense of them, when in many cases, when we start looking at what's going on, they seem to be giving us conflicting information, which of course just adds to all the confusion. So there, as well as the fear mongering, we're also increasingly aware, more of us are increasingly aware that there are various plans afoot for all these different new systems they're trying to introduce. And really we're being made to be afraid of all these different plans, as if they're inevitable. And that's part of the challenge, that they aren't necessarily inevitable. We're just made to believe that. So looking at everything that's going on, I think it's possibly fair to say that we're facing 3 key challenges. So let's have a look at what those challenges are. So challenge number 1, fear. I think this is one of the key ways that we are being made to not be able to think clearly, because it's well known in human psychology that when people are in a state of fear, they are unable to think clearly. They're unable to make decisions for themselves. And to a certain extent, that's deliberate, and we'll cover that a little bit further on. And the fear mongering is also it's to make us think that, we've got no control over what's happening. There's nothing we can do about it, that we're insignificant, that we're unimportant, and we just have to do whatever we're told, and we have to believe all these fear-mongering stories. Now, I'm not suggesting for a minute that there aren't a lot of horrible things going on in the world, and I'm not denying that whatsoever. What I am saying is that the way this information is put across to us is done on a very, very fear-mongering basis. It's designed to make us, to put us into a state of fear where we aren't capable of thinking carefully, thinking clearly, and engaging critical thinking skills. We have the ability to think. We're just made to believe that we can't do that kind of thinking. So here's the second challenge: confusion and overwhelm. I know it sounds like they're 2 challenges. I think they fit together because there's so much conflicting information. So that's a source of confusion, because when you're seeing various news stories, or people are saying different things to you about a certain event or something going on in the world, and then there are other people saying something completely different, maybe there could be more than just the 2 sides. So we just don't know where to look. And so because we know that, that these stories are conflicting, we may think, oh, well, let's have a look into it. Let's try and find out what's actually true. And then when you start to be aware of the sheer volume of work and this sheer volume of information that you need to have a look at in order to try and find, what is true, it's positively overwhelming. So again, the two, I believe, are, very much interconnected. So we have, again, as I say, the confusion and overwhelm, I believe, pretty much go together. And so where are we with challenge number 3? This is, I think, a really big challenge, and I'm sure I'm probably not being unreasonable to say so many people are feeling alone, have been feeling alone, certainly over the last few years, with everything that's going on, with the confusion and all the overwhelm. And it's just such an uncomfortable position to be in, when you just don't know what's going on. You don't know who you can speak to, and you don't know what to do about anything. So again, with what's been happening over the last 4 years, we've been made to feel isolated, and so that's not a place for being able to take action. It's quite scary. So along with feeling alone and wanting to be able to do something about it, and there is a fear of change, and I think it's, again, another, it's a human attribute that we like things to be as they are. The change can be scary, and it's not always easy to know what to change, how to change, what to do about all these different things that we're hearing about, all the information that's coming at us on a daily basis. And so what can we do to actually make a difference so that we're not living in this constant state of fear? So they are the key, as I believe, the summary of the key challenges that we face. Which leads us to the next question, really. Well, because of all these challenges that we're facing, what actually can we do about it? Is there anything we can do about it? It's to actually be able to see that this kind of craziness does actually give us an opportunity. And I think more people, as I've been speaking to people in the last couple of years, more people are recognizing that this is an opportunity. It may seem absolutely amazing that such craziness can actually give us an opportunity. It does, because when you start looking at what's going on, you start realizing that because it's so crazy, that it's definitely wrong. And well, again, not being careful not to be subjective with saying it's wrong. It's more that it's uncomfortable. This is not a comfortable way of living, and we recognise that. There's something that we know, that there's a real problem when people are being made to live in fear and be divided. So at the same time as being so crazy, I really believe that this is a true invitation, to get some sanity back, as the message at the beginning was saying, yes, we need some sanity back in our lives. So what can we do about it? And it's for us, those of us who are, ready to say, yeah, okay, let's try and do something about it, to really say, okay, well, what can we do? And it does take courage. So it's incredible that so many people are joining and being prepared to say, yes, we need to restore sanity, and we're prepared to do something about it. We're prepared to have the courage to say, yes, there's something we've got to do, and joining together to be able to have some ideas about what we can do about it, and how we can actually navigate our way forward. So I just felt that this was a great image to say, yes, opportunity ahead, and to say, yes, it's an opportunity to be taken. It's not to be taken lightly. It does, as I say, does need courage to be able to have a look and see what we can do to make some changes. So how can we go forward? What can we actually do about it? In the last few years, I've been giving this a great deal of thought, because the craziness, the insanity really needs to be, well, not necessarily dealt with. We need to deal with what's going on, and we need to get some sanity back. So how can we actually do that? So I've really been looking to see how we can actually do something about what can we do, how can we do something. And it does require us to understand something about what's going on. It doesn't mean that we have to dive into all the rabbit holes and look at all the agendas and just look at everything that everyone's talking about. It does require a few more sort of steps, taking a step back and then looking at the whole topic from a slightly different perspective to say, well, okay, what actually can we do about it? So I've created what I regard as 6 steps, and these are stepping stones, and it's not that we, take a step and it's done. These are ongoing steps. So step 1, the first thing is, if we're feeling confused, where's the source of confusion? Where's it all coming from? What's actually going on? So I think it's not too surprising to have one of the sources of confusion as the mainstream media and even the alternative media. We know we're being bombarded with news. Well, we're being bombarded with information that's called news. We're told what's going on, and as you know, as you can tell, I'm from England, and so the BBC has been long a source of apparently trusted information, and yet the more I've looked into the kind of what they call news, I've found that that's not the case. And it's not to say that everything that is put out in the mainstream media, alternative media, is all untrue. And this is of course where the confusion lies, because there's always some truth, and it's mixed with some misinformation and some not true information. So there's always a mixture. So it's a question of working your way through what actually is being put out in the media and trying to find out what actually is being told, what we're being told, and what's true and what we can do about it, and if we can. So that's the media. There's of course also social media, and again this can be a source of confusion when there are people that we like and people that we follow who are putting out information, and then somebody else that we know and we follow is putting out information that says something completely different, and we may regard both of them as trusted sources, and yet they're saying something different. So that again makes life confusing. So I mean, social media is, it's not just Facebook and Twitter, or X as I should call it now, and all those sorts of platforms. It's also things like YouTube, where there's absolutely millions of videos on all kinds of topics, and you can find a whole variety of videos where you start watching and then you find something that says completely the opposite. So the education system, that's supposedly a source of information, and yet at the same time we are beginning to learn that it's a source of limited information and not necessarily always true information. So when we talk to friends and family, we're getting conflicting information from them, from various people who are, taking different views on different subjects. So sitting round, the dinner table, it could be all sorts of different ideas about what's going on. And if you haven't looked at any of those topics, it is again a source of confusion. And the authority figures and experts that are always put forward, we're told that they are providing us with information. And again, that's not always the case. So the question is, are we influenced by others? I'd say, probably in many cases, yes, and that's not surprising. We learn from each other, we have discussions, and we find out what's going on. So we're allowing us, or are we allowing ourselves to be influenced? And that's not to say that it's a bad thing to be influenced by others. It's a question of, are we allowing ourselves to be influenced by others at the expense of listening to ourselves? So are we really relying on ourselves, thinking about things for ourselves, or relying on what other people are saying and being influenced by them? So I'm not, I don't know if people know about the Ash experiments. Some people may not. I'm going to go over them because I think it's really incredibly revealing. So there were a series of psychological experiments conducted by Solomon Asch, which is why they're called the Asch experiments. There's a whole range of experiments and various variations, and I'm not going to go into a great detail because that could take quite a while. So as you can see by the diagram, the experiment was actually quite a simple one, that participants were given a card with the line that's on the left, and they were asked to say whether that line matched in length to one of the other three, which were on a different card, as you can see on the right-hand side. Now, what was particularly interesting was that not all of the participants of those experiments were true participants. Many of them were had been primed beforehand, and they were given instructions as to how to answer the questions. So they weren't actually participants, they were put in there by the experimenters. And in most cases, there was one true participant, and they were usually at the end of the question line. So the questions were asked, which line matches. So on the as a series of as these participants were asked, the first couple of rounds they gave the correct answer. So in this case, they would say the second line, and as they went through, so there'd be maybe 3 or 4, and then the true participant would then respond. And after a couple of rounds, the answers they would give would then be incorrect. And it was not just one participant, well, the people who were there who'd been instructed on how to reply were started to give incorrect answers. So they'd say, for example, on this one, they'd say line 1. And you can actually watch as a video of the Ash experiments, and you can watch how the true participant responds when he sees that the others are giving the wrong answer. He's puzzled. And the first time around, he says he'll give the answer that he believes is correct. And then on later, when they continue in the rounds and they're still giving the incorrect answers, you can tell that he succumbs to the influence of the others and his body language and the expression on his face shows that he knows what he's saying isn't correct, and yet he follows everybody else. So these are called the conformity, they're said to be conformity experiments. There's so much more to all of this. It's to show really that people are influenced by others in a group. So we can be influenced don't if we don't want to either stand up, or if we don't want to be wrong or seen as being wrong. One of the other variations of this experiment was that one of the participant, or the actual participant, came in a bit later, and he was asked to write down his responses because he'd come in later. And it was found that when the answer was written as opposed to spoken out, they would be much more inclined to give the answer that they felt was right, rather than following the rest of the crowd. So again, it's how we appear to others. This is human nature. This is human psychology. We know we're known for, we're social animals, and we don't want to be different, or we don't want to be sort of shut out, don't be, sent away from the group. And so we tend to, go along with the crowd. What is interesting, though, as well as the people who would conform, there was a minority, I believe it was something like 25% of the participants actually would say what they saw rather than what everyone else said. So this is encouraging, that even though 75% would follow and would conform, we still have 25% of people who were prepared to have the courage and say what they felt. So again, this is really to show that we're not all exactly the same. Not everyone conforms, and people can change their minds. They can change. So step number 2: discern truth, recognize lies, and deal with cognitive dissonance. So this is the second step. And how can we discern truth? How can we recognize lies? The bookcase is there to show that we're encouraged to believe that knowledge is, that if we've read it in a book, then it's true. And yet, as we're beginning to learn, that's not necessarily the case. There are variations on different stories, different ideas. And so it's, again, to be able to have a look at what we're told, and to not necessarily accept it. It's not to say, oh, everything, so I've got to believe everything's a lie. No, that's not the case. It's to say, well, maybe, is it true? It's just to ask the question and to have a look and to find out. The reason this is important is because of cognitive dissonance. It's a feeling that we get when what we're told, the information we're given, conflicts with what we believe is true. And it's really, really a difficult emotion, because we really feel that when something's conflicting with what we believe is true, that sets up a very real feeling inside us, a genuine emotion. Our nervous system can be quite jarred by it. Again, as I mentioned with the ash experiments, if you have a look at the video, the participant, he responds. You can tell that he's responding viscerally, with being given his co-participants are saying something that's obviously not correct, and he's obviously feeling that, and within him, what he believes is true is not in alignment with what his friends are saying, what the other participants are saying. There is the other side, which is when we're told something that conflicts with what we believe is true, but in fact the information we're being told is in fact true. It's just what we've believed, what we've been taught, what we've been educated to believe is actually not true. And that can be really hard. And that is incredibly hard to cope with, because it can be quite distressing to find that something that we've maybe held to be true for many years, our whole life, our whole our working life, maybe, part of that has been based on something that we've found out is no longer true. And that creates a whole series of emotions, and it is really distressing when people have this feeling, because it really just rocks everything, your whole world, and it does take some time to really come through this. And what is so distressing is when people have to face this on their own. And that's why with that image, that guy is just, if he's dealing with cognitive dissonance, it's just having to deal with it on your own. And the thing is that we don't, and we shouldn't have to. We are social creatures. We are group creatures. We are sociable, and we have needs to be connected with each other. So the next step number 3, reduce overwhelm, fear, and anxieties. So this is a book some of you may be familiar with, may have read, may have come across this particularly, this first quote. I will read it out. It's been shared, I know, a number of times, so you may be familiar. I just think it's so powerful to understand how long this confusion has been going on, and how long we have been given some incorrect information about who we are and what we're doing. So as you can see, this book Propaganda was written in 1928. We're almost a century later, and it's time to deal with this. So the conscious and intelligent manipulation of the organized habits and opinions of the masses is an important element in democratic society. Those who manipulate this unseen mechanism of society constitute an invisible government, which is the true ruling power of our country. We are governed, our minds are moulded, our tastes formed, our ideas suggested, largely by men we have never heard of. Now, Edward Bernays is believed, or is claimed to be the father of PR, public relations, and that's obviously tied in with the advertising industry. And that's one of their fortes, is to encourage or manipulate people into buying products, which is standard kind of advertising. So it's getting the people to sort of change their habits so that they buy certain products as opposed to others. What is particularly important to point out in this quote is that it's not just habits, it's the opinions of, again, calling us the masses, but yes, so it's opinions. It's also our minds are molded, our tastes formed, our ideas suggested. So again, these are ways of showing us that we are encouraged to think in a certain way. That isn't necessarily true. That doesn't necessarily benefit us as well. I also found this other sentence a little bit further down in the chapter, in that same chapter in that book. And again, I think it's relevant. So it is not usually realized how necessary these invisible governance are to the orderly functioning of our group life. So this is how they are organizing us as groups or in a group in the way we are within a group. And this is really something that we are recognizing. And some people are saying, well, we shouldn't, we shouldn't be in a group. We have to be individual. And to a certain extent, I agree. We are, each of us is unique, incredibly unique, wonderful creations of nature. We are social beings. So we do function within a group. It's a question of how we function in a group and whether other people are telling us how we should function in a group, or whether we're recognizing that it's time for us to start deciding how we interact, how we join together in a group, how we become different types of groups. So more of a community like we are here, a community rather than a group where we are encouraged to function in a way that is according to their order, their orderly functioning of our group life. So yes, this is it's not, again, it's not to add to the fear mongering. Oh, they've been looking at this for a long time. Yes, they have. Say they, people who are organizing our lives. It's a question of saying, well, we don't have to actually follow what they're suggesting we can do. We can start thinking for ourselves and not be made fearful, which helps us to think more clearly. So how can we actually do something about all of this? Our again, looking at the sources of the confusion, the sources of the information. So the mainstream media, alternative media, social media. Yeah, turn them off. Take some time away. And it's not always easy. I mean, I appreciate, obviously, we're we're using these systems, and that's fine if you're using them for certain beneficial, say, certain ways. If we're using them rather than letting these platforms use us. So I know there's a term digital detox, and it's one way of looking at it, of just taking some time out, taking some time away. And the amount of people who have taken some time out and said, oh, I definitely, you feel better. And it's certainly one way of not being overwhelmed. So when we're on these kinds of platforms, we're encouraged to think in a certain way and to do certain things. And really, we're not encouraged to actually take charge of our own decision making. So that's another aspect, is to actually take back our decision making, make decisions for ourselves, and not be influenced. And again, that's why I mentioned the Ash experiments, to actually recognize that we can, and we can actually make a difference. We can stand up with what we feel, for our own principles. And even if it's different from people around us, and I'm again, I'm not saying it's necessarily easy. It does take courage. Again, we're in unprecedented times, so it's time for stepping up and having the courage, taking the courage. And it's not about necessarily charging forward as a lion might, it's not about charging forward, but it's taking steps. It's taking steps. So I know this might seem sort of slightly on a tangent. It's not. It's to understand the importance of how our thoughts and ideas actually affect us. For people who are familiar with the placebo effect, it's, I mean, easily, it's sort of an easy, I suppose, description really, is a beneficial outcome due to the expectation that an intervention will help. So these Placebos are used in by the pharmaceutical industry in controlled trials of different drugs. Double-blind placebo-controlled studies is what they usually call them, to test the effects of some kind of new drug against something that's called a placebo. It's usually a sugar pill or something that is believed to be inert, so it's not expected to have any kind of outcome. So if somebody responds to the actual new drug, then they'll match it against the response by the person on who's taken the placebo. What has been known for a very long time is that people who take the placebo have been known to have a beneficial outcome, to improve, even though they've taken this inert pill. So it's a known phenomenon that people can actually change the outcome because they believe they were taking an actual pharmaceutical. There is the opposite. It's lesser known, the nocebo effect. I think it's becoming somewhat better known, and more people are talking about this because it is relevant with what's been going on and what is going on. And it's really the opposite of the placebo effect. It's a harmful outcome due to certain beliefs and expectations. Now, one of the known nocebo effects is there was a trial of a particular chemotherapy drug, and some people were given a placebo, and yet they still had, I mean, they knew they were on a trial for a chemotherapy drug. And because there are certain known side effects, some of the people were experiencing side effects because they expected them. And then they discovered afterwards that they were in the placebo group. So they were experiencing some of the known side effects, and what are called side effects, when they hadn't been taking the actual pharmaceutical. So they were having an outcome when really there should have been no effect whatsoever. So again, this just shows that we can be made to fear. So as well as having a beneficial outcome, we can actually be made to fear and produce a harmful outcome as a result of our expectations and beliefs, which is the power of the mind. We are finding out more and more of just how powerful our minds are and our beliefs are. And that's, again, one of the reasons that we're not encouraged to understand this. I found a document called Spontaneous Remission it's published on the website of the Institute of Noetic Sciences. I've got the website there, noetic.org, and it's really just fascinating to see the number of cases of what they call spontaneous remission. I mean, they define it in a way where people who have a better outcome despite either no treatment or very minimal treatment, and yet it's usually cancer. It's usually in the with people who have been diagnosed with cancer, that they have experienced these pretty amazing results and the remission. In that particular document, Spontaneous Remission, they identify 8 characteristics. I've chosen 2 because I think they are probably the most pertinent to this particular discussion here. So we're talking about a change from dependency to autonomy. And I think that is just so key, where, again, it's tying into what I've been saying before about where we're trusting others and going outside of ourselves to these authorities and actually taking back responsibility for our lives. And that's where the second one, taking control of their lives. Interestingly, that's why I put the brackets, that taking control of people taking control of their lives in all these different aspects, you know, the personal, the professional, emotional, spiritual, and the medical. So these were people who decided to take control of their lives. And I can identify that because that, or identify with that, I beg your pardon, because that was where I was in the 90s when I had the diagnosis, I had the treatment, and I somehow knew, again, intuition, I'm not totally sure, but I knew that I had to take control of my life. I knew I had to make some changes. I knew I had to do something about it. So again, as well as being important, I think these important characteristics, I identify with them. So I can sort of speak from experience, because there are various statistics that say, you know, only, you know, sort of the percentage of people who actually survive the treatment and survive it for, you know, whatever years. And I'm now talking, yes, heading for 30 years, something like that. So this is why I'm sharing my experience. I'm sharing my knowledge, my experience of what I've dealt with, what I've come through, and how I'm learning how to actually do something about what's going on. And that's why I'm sharing this with you. I would add that, of course, that whatever is I'm saying has, you know, shouldn't be construed as medical advice. This is purely for informational purposes. I'm just sharing information. This is not about, this is not medical advice. So please don't take it as that. So it's really to understand the power of the mind. I mean, there's so many different examples we could give. I mean, more and more people are becoming aware of the work of Dr. Bruce Lipton, who wrote his book, The Biology of Belief. Many, you know, again, many decades ago, he was, you know, one of the pioneers of the how beliefs can affect our own body or our biology, what we can do with it. And it's again recognizing that we have this power. We have this power, and it's knowing what we can then do with it. So our next step on the path to sanity, harmonize with friends and family. I think this has been something that has been so key over the last few years. So many people have just having hear so many stories of people having these arguments with their friends and family. I even heard literally today my neighbour telling me about two friends of hers who have fallen out because they literally do not agree on a particular topic, and having been friends for many years, they've now fallen out, and it's just incredibly sad that people are separating and they're being divided and they're not maintaining the relationship because they have different views on a particular topic, and it becomes so meaningful to them that they actually are prepared to let go of a friendship, no matter how long that friendship's lasted. It was, I was very sad to hear that. It was upsetting. So it's still happening. I say literally that was today that I heard that. So yeah, why is there this conflict? Again, as I said, you know, we have different views. People, you know, when we try and express our views, you know, that they won't listen. They just, you know, shut down. And the other thing, of course, we get called names. So it depends on where you are in the process of whether you're just starting to learn that there are problems in the world, and whether you are then trying to share it with people who aren't aware, or whether you're just learning and you're sharing it with people who've been aware of the problems for a long time. So if you're in a slightly different place from, or you know, have a just slightly different perspective from other people, you know, you may have different views, and absolutely everyone's entitled to have different views. And it doesn't mean that just because somebody's been learning about all of this for a very long time that they're necessarily right or more awake than you or anything like that. I mean, these are the names that people are being putting out to say, oh, you're, if you've started to look at what's going on and people aren't, then they might start calling you conspiracy theorists or tinfoil hat wearer, or I mean, there's so many, or whatever it is, denier. Again, it's not about denying anything. It's about having conversations. So this is one of the areas that is important to find a way through. I do actually know somebody who has a friendship with somebody where they have different views on a particular topic, and they have actually decided, which I think is wonderful, that their friendship is more important than their differing views. And so they've decided to have meaningful conversations about their different views and at the same time maintain their friendship, even though, it's just, it's not about whether they agree or not. And again, if you're having a conversation with somebody who has a different view, if you're actually willing to engage with each other and ask questions, to look into what they think, to explain how you think in a rational way, then you may both learn. These are always opportunities to learn. It's when people are, again, because we're also overwhelmed and confused, that our emotions are running high and we're not necessarily as calm and as in the right kind of state to listen carefully. And I really believe that this is a step where we can all start to make a difference, to recognize where there is disharmony, and to start having a look at how we can create different ways of interacting with people, so that we've got a chance to really find out how we can kind of keep going forward without having these different, well, without having the arguments, and to be open to learning. And just because somebody hasn't looked at everything that's going on, it still doesn't mean that we can't learn from their perspective, because their perspective is from a with a different opinion, from a different place. So really, I mean, taking a different approach, yes. I mean, one of the things that I'm sure nobody likes to be told you're wrong. And I think that probably stems a great deal from childhood, from being in education systems where we are taught something and we have to respond and get the right answer so that we get a tick, so we don't get a red cross that tells us we're wrong. And this is it's either, you're right or you're wrong. And this, again, this difference, this divisiveness is not helpful, because there are almost, in many cases, there are nuances. So I mean, it's absolutely understandable we don't want to be told we're wrong. At the same time, I think it's to recognize that we maybe don't want to think about telling other people that they're wrong, because we don't like being told we're wrong. So we don't want to tell other people that they're wrong. And also we're used to the being told what to do. Teacher tells us. So a different approach will involve asking them questions to say, well, maybe just, well, why do you think that way? Or what is that based on? Or what information do you have? I mean, there's all sorts of ways of asking. So I'm not going to even suggest that I know all the ways of asking. So it's not be confrontational. Again, valuing the relationships, to say, okay, well, yes, we have different views, and how can we kind of discuss it? I'm not suggesting that you have to compromise where you are. It's not that at all. It's finding ways of interacting with people, and really just recognizing that the idea is to make us separate and isolated, as has been done over the last few years. And so the way to harmonize is to reverse that and say, no, we aren't going to be separated. We aren't going to allow ourselves to be divided. So let's sit down and have a conversation and see what we actually have in common. Again, that's the other thing. We're always focusing on the differences, but how about having a look at what we feel that's the same. Let's have a look at the similarities. Let's have a look at where we agree on different things, rather than always looking at where we don't agree. So we've been through 5 steps. This is the 6th step. The 6th step. It may not sound terribly interesting, find and attract a like-minded community. It is, however, the most important step. I mean, this is so powerful. The knowledge, the understanding of the 5 steps that we've already gone through, that's only part of the journey. When we integrate, when we actually, oh, sorry, I apologize. This is step 5. I apologize. I've jumped. I saw 6 steps. Sorry. On 5 is to find and attract like-minded community, which, as you can see, we are in a community here. This is a community we are. These groups of people. Why not have this as our life? And I can say that this is something that I've actually experienced. This is a photograph. This is actually a real photograph, and that's me there at Music and Sky. If somebody had told me 5 years ago that that's where I would be last year, I would have said I wouldn't have believed it. It just, I wouldn't have believed it was true. And yet, with the journey that I've been on and what I've been doing to look at everything that's going on, to actually start exploring what I can do in my own life, what are the changes I can make, I've actually, sorry, I've actually found that I've been able to connect with a like-minded community. And that was such an amazing event. And again, the people who were there are in the same, have the same same ideas, same mindset. And yet we're again all different, completely different. We have all sorts of different ideas. And that's the point, that the group is far more powerful than each individual. So together, there's a saying, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. So, we're each individual and we each contribute to the community. And at the same time, we are individual. We contribute our own unique talents, our own unique abilities and perspectives. And together, the community is just incredibly powerful. So, and again, apologies. Now we are on step 6, which is, as I was saying, integrating this. As I say, doesn't sound terribly exciting. You say, okay, it is actually the most powerful, because this is where the power lies. When we actually start to implement all of this into our lives, where we start to make the changes with everything that that I've talked about before in these 5 steps, that this is where we start to actually be able to move forward, find a different way, live our lives in a different way, and recognize. And it does take incredible courage. It really does, because this is the time when we really have to make some changes. And that's, again, I said, scary. And we are looking to not just carry on in the way things are in a different way. It's actually to create a whole different way, a whole different way of looking at life, a whole different way of experiencing life, and looking at various ways that we can actually make the changes. And again, it's not just looking at one particular system, it's looking at all kinds of different ways. So again, it's working together in community, working together, looking at what we can do, utilizing our own strengths, and working in a way that is, I mean, you could see it as, strengthening a muscle. It's a muscle we haven't necessarily used a lot, and it's time to strengthen that muscle. And again, together, we are, and we will be incredibly powerful. Again, taking back to what I was saying about the placebo effect, recognizing the power of the mind and deciding that we can make some steps. So what can we do? What can we do to integrate this? This is not just a one step. This is a whole series of steps that we take continuing forward. It's not just, oh, take this one step and it's done. It's an ongoing journey. It's all of life is an ongoing journey. So to really, to recognize that power, to recognize that we can trust ourselves, rely on ourselves, again, know what we feel inside, to also just really not to be drawn into all these divisive arguments, not to be drawn into having to take sides. I mean, I've said, it's okay to sit on the fence. I mean, I was, I'm sort of in my 20s, late teens, something like that. Quite often I would see different discussions going on with different people, and I'd say, I quite, sometimes could see kind of both sides, or I could understand what each of them was saying. And yet I didn't think I necessarily agreed with either side. And I thought, oh, I'm just being, sitting on the fence, not. And yet at the same time, there's nothing wrong with that, to be able to contemplate both sides of a discussion and say, well, okay, I'll think about both sides. And it's not even necessary to have to agree with either side. And again, we're pulled into these polarities with politics and so many different ideas of, you have to take a side. I mean, even something as simple as sports, well, I say simple, there could be some sports fans here, sorry. You're asked to take a side, to follow your team, and then you're supposed to not like the people who follow the other team. I mean, that's pretty common here in in England with football, or soccer as it's called, um, over the other side of the pond. And we're expected to be divided. We have to follow this particular team and hate the people who follow the other team. And again, that's allowing ourselves to not necessarily follow our heart. So we need to be able to step back from these divisive discussions and be able to say, okay, I can see what's being said here. I'll think about it. I'll step back. And especially if there's an emotional reaction, that there's something that's really uncomfortably emotional going on, that we then feel that we're drawn into, and we say, actually, no, because we need to not be not have the overwhelm increased. We don't want to increase the overwhelm. We want to reduce the overwhelm. And that's why to say, no, I'll just sit back. I'll have a think about it. And maybe, if there's an argument going on, wait till everyone's calmed down, say, okay, now let's have a conversation and let's talk about it. Let's discuss our views. So it's again the taking the different steps to, you know, observe what's going on in the world, and to just work to responding, you know, to discern with discernment, to really have a look at what we're being told, to not just jump into having to take a side, to really, you know, to take that time out and then start to listen to the inner voice, which, or your inner knowing. Sometimes we don't take much notice of that. And again, going back to the ash experiments, you know, you could see the guy was, you know, conflicted, and so he wasn't trusting his inner guidance. So to start trusting yourself to make your own decisions. And we all know that we, you know, we want to be thinking more clearly and to have some clarity with what we're doing in our lives. And as we learn to reduce the overwhelm, to find out how we can just step back from all the fear mongering. And then as we develop the inner clarity, we get a better sense of some actual sanity. And this is really where we're moving forward to. So here we are, the 6 steps. Discover the source of confusion, discern truth, recognize lies, deal with cognitive dissonance, reduce overwhelm, fear, and anxieties, harmonize with friends and family, find and attract like-minded community, and integrate this understanding into daily life. So it is a new skill set. It's as I said, knowledge is only part of the journey, and it's like having a, you know, a box of tools. They're useful. You have to actually use them in order to get the best out of them. So this is not just about learning how to do it. It's actually to start taking action and to start moving it into your life, so that we can start to make some differences, make a difference, and recognize where we're having these problems. And that's what, as I said, that's where the power lies. So really, it's the next phase is what we do with this, how we go forward. So I hope you feel you've got some value from this presentation. And this is really where the true challenge lies. How are we going to take action? What are we going to do? How do we go forward? We're long past the time where we can do all of this by ourselves. My journey of, if you like, awakening was probably began, I don't know, about 20 odd years ago. So at the time, there was, you know, pretty much no one around, hardly anyone around to really sort of talk to about it. Certainly the friends and family I had at the time were not supportive of the kinds of ideas I had. And so it can be a pretty lonely journey. And I totally understand that. So, you know, I mean, at the time, it would have been great to have had, you know, guidance and support of a like-minded community. And because it's so much, it's not just easier, it's so much more supportive, and you can make so much more progress when you're connected with other people and with community. And that's what we need going forward is community. So at this point, I would like to invite you on a 6-week journey. So my invitation to you is the Finding Clarity in a Confusing World, which is a slightly different title from this workshop. So I've distilled the years of discovery, my years of discovery and my experiences into creating something that will be, I hope will be of benefit to help us move forward working together. And it's really the 6 weeks cover the 6 steps that we've discussed today. So each one of those weeks will cover each of the steps in more depth, because there's so much more that we can kind of dive into. So there's, let's say, 6 90-minute sessions, and there's be including an interactive Q&A and live coaching. The instant replay access. There's also there'll be a Telegram group for discussion, because I'm aware that people want to have these ongoing discussions. And also the Telegram group will be available for 3 months, 3 months afterwards. So I hope you've all got something out of this, that you really feel that, you know, we're going to be moving forward as community, and taking these steps together as community, we can certainly get so much more clarity, so much quicker. So I'm noticing the time. So what I'll do is open it up to some questions. I will stop share here. So, yeah. So, yes, I know that was sort of quite a lot to get through. And if anyone has any questions, it's probably a moment to just kind of pause and get that kind of settled. So, if anyone has any questions, I believe there's a reactions at the bottom if somebody has anything, any questions or any comments they'd like to make. If not, okay. Well, okay, I can see a couple of friends here, so I'm going to pick on one or two of you to ask what your favorite highlights. So, Yanae, would you like to share? You can.
Hey Dawn. Hi everybody. You can hear me, right?
Yes, I can hear you, yes.
So I did want to actually make a comment. I mean, so this was a very good presentation. Because we also need to figure out how to go about down the road presenting stuff to people, right? Because it's also, we need to be aware of what others are dealing with, right? The ones that are slowly awakening. And I can say, so I'm a PhD, right, in molecular biology. So I was completely lost. And the best suggestion, the best advice that I was given in April, maybe it was actually June 2020, was the person told me, everything is 80-20. When you were talking about mainstream media, not everything is a lie, right? So he kind of called it 80-20. So I've been kind of sharing that forward later on with my friends. Everything is 80-20. So don't discard baby with bathwater, because that won't be good either, right? And another thing is observe and don't absorb. And this is where you say we can be sitting on the fence. But then again, sitting on the fence really means just observing from 40,000 feet bird view, as some of my friends are calling it. So, yeah, it's been very overwhelming. I can say that at the beginning of 2020, but once you figure out who you are, then nothing can. I mean, that ash. What did you call it? The ash experiment. Yeah, at this point, like 5 years ago, I would be falling with those people that see something, but then they say, no, it's, go with the group. Now I'm in that small minority. And as you said, I would have never thought like 5 years ago, oh yeah, you'll be that small minority that's going to be
Mm.
loud. Yeah, but this is where I'm at now. While still at work, right? And you know that. While I'm
Yeah.
still navigating the system.
Yes, I can see somebody's got their hand up. If you don't mind, I'll move on to them because we've only got a few minutes. Thank you thank you for that. I appreciate it. Gianna, is that
Um, Hi, thank you so much for your talk. I'm a I'm a graduate student to become a therapist in mental health counseling, and I think that it's really important what you're talking about with the bombardment of negative fear-mongering content and the overwhelm that it's having on us. I think my generation is experiencing like total burnout and just stress and anxiety in a way that as a teenager, I didn't know about what was going on in the world. It just, you didn't have access to that kind of information. So I think it's really important that, like, a lot of you that are kind of like on the forefronts of this, I think, search for truth are also saying to people, turn off the news, whether it's the anti-government news or the pro-government news, like don't watch it, because it's all stressing us out. So I really did appreciate that.
thank you. Thank you very much. Uh, we've still got 10 minutes, so if anyone's got any other questions or comments, does anyone else want to? Do we have any other? I can't see any other hands up. Oh, okay, Christina.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment on that ash experiment, and I'm wondering if the results that we're seeing in that experiment are really just indicating how much society at that time had already basically fallen under the spell of, this kind of, what I guess I would call the hive mind. So at that point, even in the 50s, they were starting to get a lot of that education on, everybody's getting the exact same education. Everybody's told, this is the truth, what the world is. And um, you're not always encouraged to basically think for yourselves. So I'm wondering now if those 25% were basically the homeschooled kids who were taught to think for themselves, or, and then the rest of us were in the classroom and starting to come under that spell. I call it a spell because that's what I
Mm.
feel like they put us under.
Yes. I think the education, well, the education system has changed quite a lot since the 50s. They've certainly made it less able for students to think for themselves, learn for themselves. And I think again, because there was so many different aspects to those particular experiments, it was more that there were different scenarios where people were more likely to comply, to conform to the rest of the other participants. They found that if there was only one other person giving the wrong answer, a person would actually be more inclined to give, I say the right answer. I mean, this is something where, the line is either the same length or it's not. So they're more likely to give the right answer when there were fewer of the others who were saying something different. And also, as I said, when the person was asked to write down the answer, they were more inclined to give the correct answer. So again, it's how we perceive the the community that we're in and whether we're encouraged to actually speak out. But as you say, you know, the 25% were, it was on average. So I mean, in certain cases it was a higher amount. And there was another example of when one other person gave the correct answer, then the participant would give, you know, the correct answer, and they're more likely. So it's just when they're completely on their own and everyone else is saying something different that it's harder to actually stand up and speak out. And you know, because, well, for whatever reason, I mean, it could be somewhat different reasons for different people. So we are encouraged not to speak out and say something different, to give what's perceived to be, again, the wrong answer. And this is where, you know, it really does require courage to say, no, I'm actually going to stand up and speak my truth. And again, it's how you do that, it's the way you do that, and it's whether you know, it's the method, it's the approach that you take with people. If you can take a considered approach with somebody else, then you know you're less likely to get into conflict. Whereas if you just say, well, no, you're wrong, then you're off to a really difficult start if you're trying to have, you know, a conversation, or if you want to engage. It's a good point, because and certainly in America, the education system was set up from the early 20th century, so that had been going for a while. And again, it's a very telling. Those experiments are pretty telling. I know there's some different views about how to actually interpret the results. I just think, even at face value, with somebody just being prepared to say something that they know is wrong, just tells us a lot about human nature. And we are, you know, because we're social creatures. We love being in community. We don't like being isolated. We don't like being separated. And so we do really want to connect, to interact, to work together. You know, this is how we are. This is human nature. So yeah. I know, Gianna, you've still got your hand. Did you want to add something else? Yes, no. Oh, okay. Christine.
Hi, Dawn.
Hi.
Hi. I just want to just show my face and say thank you for everything. I met you at Music and Sky, and I know there's some people who said what a beautiful experience it was. And just thank you for making the time. I know you just spent time to just see and hear me and make space for my story, and being so open and receptive to so many people. It was just so amazing to be able to just, you know, be able to get that experience in person from, you know, the person you are. So thank you. And I know I mentioned with, you know, my dad how much your book affected him, especially being a kid growing up in the 60s, of so much hope. And it really just helped in such a chronological way to really understand that this is such a, you know, a bigger battle than we think. And I loved that 80-20 reference, that really just not being, you know, so really being able to take things and, you know, my mom loves to mention this cone of energy of staying in neutrality, because with all of these things are just really putting us in such fear and guilt and shame. And whatever experience you've had as a child, it really, you know, the world and media. And I heard this phrase before of like mommy medicine and daddy government, that we're constantly like looking for answers in these things that really are not of the truth of where our spirit is. So much of what you do is just an exemplary example of that. So I just want to say hi and thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Thank you. Um, yeah, are there, we've literally only got a couple of minutes left. Janet, would you like to give your highlight? Oh, you've got your hand up. Sorry, I've just seen your hand raised. I can't, you need to unmute.
Oops, sorry.
There you are.
Computer challenged. I'm a real human in the real flesh. I'm a dancer. I love you so much, Don. I'm also shy on the computer. I'm not shy in real life. I'm shy with the computer. I don't like them. I just love you so much. And so I wanted to get over. I'm trying to work with the computer, but it's really, I'm such a human. They're never going to get me. Anyway, I love you, and I took voracious notes, and I'm just really happy to be part of all the communities of real conscious humans that don't want to turn into a whatever this is. Uh, yeah. Anyway, but that's my voice. Thank you so much for your presentation. And yeah, just can't say enough good things. Pushes me out of my shyness to and I want to send, I'm going to send your message. It's like I have so many friends that, you know, that I just think, oh, Dawn's presentation I can send because you're an angel, like fairy, butterfly, you're the softness, the love that pours out of you. How can they not see that? Like, how can they not listen to how you speak the truth in such a kind and beautiful way? I just don't understand humans, but I'm going to send your message to some people who have called me some pretty voracious names.
Thank you so much, Janet. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, the link, well, this being recorded, so the link
Yes.
will be shared. Everyone will get a link, so yes, you'll be able to share that. So yes, so no, appreciate that. I mean, this really is the time to make some changes. We've been a little bit slow maybe in the past, and now this is saying no, it's time to move forward. It doesn't mean that it has to be done tomorrow. We're taking the steps, and it just makes such a difference to do this together, to do this in community.
Yes.
That's where really the actual 6-week course is, be able to sort of dive deeper and get into it and really make those connections much deeper and much stronger. And as we all sort of, go together into this journey. So, we're about out of time. Is there anyone else who has either something to ask, something to say? I can't see any other. Nicola. Oh, I can't. Sorry, I can't hear you. I
Oh.
oh, thank you. Right. Yes, you put a poem. Okay. Sorry, I couldn't hear. I apologize. So, I yes, sorry about that. I just want to say thank you so much for all of you for sharing, for joining in this to actually share this journey, share this discussion, share this conversation. It just it's just fantastic feedback. Thank you to all of you, and I really I'd be more than honored to go deeper into all of this with anyone who wants to come along on the 6-week journey. So I mean, this for me is how we go forward, how we create this beautiful new world that we know is possible. We know we want to create, and it is finding ways to do this together, and only by not being in conflict can we do this together, and just reach out and recognize the differences, and honor the similarities. So, I just really appreciate you all joining me, and I look forward to seeing you in, on the 6-week course. So yes, you'll have the details. I'll be sending that all out. So I thank you all. I mean, if you want to unmute and say bye or hi or something. So I think people want to unmute and say. Anyone else want to? Yes. Hi. Okay. Thank you very much.
Dawn.
Thank you, John.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dawn. Appreciate everything.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Bye, Don.